All right, Chris, a 20-17 loss. The New Orleans Saints take down the Carolina Panthers. They're now 0-2. One, Frankie Luvu's a beast. Second of all, I think we need to put the offense on a milk carton because it's missing. It's
where are they at? Where are they at? We need them at ASAP.
Well, I mean, can we call them missing if we never actually saw them? They're kind of like Bigfoot. I don't know. Maybe we'll find it at some point. But either way, we're going to break it all down. Let's get this sucker started.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox. Chris Lea is at Bank of America Stadium, where the Carolina Panthers lose to the New Orleans Saints 20-17. They fall to 0-2. We have this post-game wrap-up after every single game, so make sure you subscribe right here on YouTube and leave us comments. Leave us your thoughts on this game because we have plenty to react to. The biggest thing, Chris, the offense, let's call it what it is. It's inept. It's non-existent. It just ain't there. It flat out stinks. It flat out stinks.
And here's the thing that disappoints me is because this whole offseason, we heard scheme. And with these people that you think are supposed to be these gurus when it comes down to offense, you have Frank Reich, you have Thomas Brown, who's supposed to be this up-and-coming budding star in the NFL in the coaching realms. You have Jim Caldwell up there being one of your senior assistants, Josh McCown, who's a former NFL quarterback himself. This stuff isn't looking good, and you would think that with a scheme, with the players that the Panthers have, not that they would be world beaters, but you'd be able to at least get the yardage that you need when you need them for at least 60% of the time. If you need 5 yards, you can get 5 yards. If you need 10 yards, you can get 10 yards. Those easy plays are just not there. This feels like 2019 to me, and that was a bad year to cover the Carolina Panthers. Because the only thing that was going for the Carolina Panthers in 2019 was Christian McCaffrey. If he was not on the field, if he took a play off, they were not moving the ball. If the ball didn't go to Christian McCaffrey, they weren't moving the ball. And guess what? There's no Christian McCaffrey. Nope. This feels laborious right now for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, nothing even close to that. And that's kind of, well, a lot of people are wondering as well, is that the personnel that was brought in to be put around Bryce Young, we brought in Adam Thielen, okay? Who's been a complimentary receiver pretty much his entire career. DJ Chark, who's been banged up, but kind of at best is a number 2. Jonathan Mingo is an unknown. He's a rookie. And Terrace Marshall Jr., did he even play today? I don't think he even saw him on the field. So again, it's just, I think you brought in Miles Sanders, who benefited from having a great quarterback who ran, and Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, who also had 2 big-time wide receivers on the outside, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So these are like complementary pieces that are expected to be like the guy. And I don't know if anyone actually scares a defense. Like, who actually is afraid of an offensive playmaker for the Carolina Panthers? No one out there jumps at you. We saw Chris Olave and Michael Thomas today. And how many big-time chunk plays did we see Chris Olave have? That guy actually legit scares you. All the big chunk plays that that were made today, it seemed like, were made by the New Orleans Saints. This Panthers offense just can't do it, or at least it can't do it right now. You talk about scheme. I didn't see any improvement or anything different really from week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons to week 2 against the Saints offense. I didn't see anything different. If anything, like you said, it was actually kind of worse. You know, like, where was Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders in the run game? That 1-2 punch that we saw week 1. Where was that?
Well, that's a part of play calling, right?
Yeah.
So after the game, play calling was called into question by some reporters here asking Frank Reich, hey, is it time to hand the sticks over to Thomas Brown?
Yeah.
Some fans are asking that right now on Twitter, but Chuba Hubbard, he only had 2 carries, and one of those carries went for 14 yards at the end of the game. Bryce Young had a 26-yard carry. What's that put together? That's 40 yards between those two on those 2 carries. So other than that, Miles Sanders, you give him 14 carries, 43 yards, 3 yards per carry. It's not working. It's not working. at all right now. And that's the part where like you're kind of upset and you wonder like why is this such a labor for the Carolina Panthers in this game? Like, and then also you would think with the offensive staff that you would see more creative play calling. There's nothing creative happening at all.
Nothing.
There's nothing out there that makes you go, ooh. The only ooh moment of the night is when Bryce Young shook old boy out of his boots in the midfield, and everybody was like, oh, snap, he actually did that. Yeah. That's literally the only thing. And right now, it just the offense looks vanilla. It looks the same way it did in the preseason when we were told we're not playing in our scheme. Oh, yeah? Well, it looks the exact same right now. So this isn't the preseason. These games count.
Yeah.
So when are we going to play in the scheme?
Yeah, big time question. Still to be determined. Still looking out for it. Still waiting for it. A big key stat, I guess you could say stat, though in little air quotes here, that stood out to me in this game. 3 times we saw the New Orleans Saints go 10-plus plays on offense. 3 times they had drives with 10-plus plays. Every single drive that the Panthers had in right after, 3 and out. 3 and out. You can't do that. There was I think it was a 15-play drive that resulted in a field goal. That was the series that Shaq Thompson got hurt. All right, so you got a 15-play drive, and then right after that, you have a 3 and out. And then immediately right after that, it was a 12-play drive. Now, both those drives for the Saints resulted in field goals, so good job for the defense, bending but not breaking. 27 plays to and then again, the following was a 3 and out. It's 27 plays to 6. 27 plays to 6. Eventually, the defense wears out. And we saw as the game went along, Chris, the defense did start to wear down. This is something that you and I even actually talked about in the preseason, that this offense and Bryce Young as a rookie need to learn is that, all right, defense is out there for a long time. Get a first down. You may not score, but the defense was out there for a long time. They only gave up a field goal. Just go get a first down. Allow them time to adjust, especially when Shaq Thompson got hurt. Now, I'll give him a little bit of a benefit of doubt because there was the end of the quarter, so it was a little bit of a longer break. Okay, I get that. But that's 3 times. 3 times your opponent went 10-plus plays and you went 3 and out immediately as a response to it. That's bad.
And let me add to this. You're not going to be playing the Saints every time with this. So if you do this in 2 weeks when you're back at Bank of America Stadium against the Minnesota Vikings, you think the Minnesota Vikings are going to have that many long sustained drives without punching it in the end zone with the offensive weapons that they have? Like, it's one of those things that it is concerning because at a certain point, like the defense is doing all they can do, but just offense is just going to win every time. Just the way the rules are. You have somebody in Justin Jefferson, who's one of the top receivers in the NFL right now. You don't think that won't get them into the end zone? That they won't have a plan for that when they play better teams with better offenses. Again, the Saints aren't the best team. They're not good. The Saints are not good, and that's what the Carolina Panthers look like against a team that's not good. And that's the part that is concerning for me.
That's the thing. Yeah, they're not good, but guess what? They're 2-0, and you're 0-2, Carolina. 0-2, not only just 0-2 overall, but you're 0-2 in the division. Guess what?
Everybody in the division is 2-0 besides the Carolina Panthers. They are 0-2 right now. You're starting off the wrong way.
You're 2 games back of everyone, and you're 2 games back in the division as well. You are now in chase mode. You're entering week 3, and you are already chasing. You're already chasing, and it's week 3. We're going into week 3. And you're already in chasing. A stat that on the drive with Tim Donnelly, the show that I produce on 99.9 The Fan, which, by the way, we're actually going to hear from wide receiver DJ Chark here in just a moment. So make sure you stick around for that when we hear from DJ Chark in the locker room, you and Pat Welter down there, Chris. But teams, since the divisions were reformed about roughly 20 years ago when the NFL fully expanded to 32 teams to what we see right now, teams that start 0-2 on the season and both those losses are in the division, 6 times it's happened, all 6 teams miss the playoffs.
Oh, for sure.
Playoffs
are done already.
Yeah. I mean, that's
We're
the
only
thing.
2 games in, playoffs are done.
Exactly. So it's the thing. But here's the thing. To keep this in mind, I know we talked about the division kind of stinks. That was like the conversation going into the season. now it's all about the development of Bryce Young, but I am now legit worried about the development of Bryce Young based off the play calling and who's around him in terms of offensive personnel. I'm legit concerned because you pointed this out, Chris. There was like a lack of swagger, like in terms of his body language. There's times where he's just scrambling, running for his life, or if he does have time, he's got nowhere to go with the football.
Here's something, Dennis. In the locker room afterwards, I did my 10 o'clock hit for WRL, went to the locker room and tried to find Pat Welter. That's when he was talking to DJ Chark. Mm-hmm. And this must have been right after Bryce was done at the podium. Bryce was at his locker, and he got up, and we kind of were walking in the same direction at the same time. Of course, he didn't want to make eye contact, looked at me, looks down, shoulders down, feet dragging. I've never seen Bryce Young look that defeated. Now, clearly, he actually got defeated after a game, so you're not going to look the happiest. But this is a guy that exudes confidence no matter what. Every time we've covered this guy, he just exudes confidence. That confidence looked like it was going on the field. There's a clip out there. I can't remember which quarter it happened where Bryce Young lined up behind the right guard, and Miles Sanders had to push him over like behind the center. Like, I'm hoping he's not like Sam Darnold was in New York. I hope he's not seeing ghosts right now. And here's another thing too, and this isn't Bryce Young's fault, but this is something else that has me worried with the Carolina Panthers. I've been saying I want them to get a bigger back because I'm worried about them in short yardage situations. Your short yardage plan is to put in Andy Dalton. That is your short yardage plan.
They did it the threat twice. Of a QB sneak. Yeah.
They did it twice, but they didn't get a chance to run it twice because the first time Kate Mays got a pre-snap penalty. But they were going to go for that twice. Andy Dalton is your plan for the extra yard? Bruh, we got bigger problems.
Yeah.
We got bigger problems.
Yep. Big time personnel issues, I think, right now because, no plan for pickup short yardage. No true, like, real receiving threat in terms of, like, any sort of that, hey, who's going to take the top off the defense or some of a threat. We really didn't get to see it much from DJ Chark in this game because it seems like anytime they did try to run a deep. Yeah, that's it. Now, he did draw a pass interference play that was down the right sideline, which sometimes you got to chuck it up there, and you earn those every once in a while, but you got to be willing to take those shots. But anytime that Bryce maybe wanted to take a shot downfield, he got flushed out of the pocket or he had pressure in his face. So anyways, it's just a rough game all around. I know they got the late touchdown, but the Saints were playing soft because they wanted clock to run. So they got what they wanted out of that. But speaking of DJ Chark, you were in the locker room, as was Pat Welter, WRL Sports. Let's go inside the locker room, Chris. Let's hear from the wide receiver himself, DJ Chark.
DJ, what have you seen from Bryce Young and his performance, and what he's done well, what he can do better?
I think he's doing well. He's taking what he gets. He was big for us down the stretch. That run that he had, just figuring out, ways to help us out, and we have to help him out. So it's definitely a progress. Progress needs to be made on our end to help him out. This is just his second game, so I take full responsibility to try to, make sure that he have a good game.
What's the morale like in here right now? 0-2 starts, obviously not where you want to be, but long season.
Answering this question right after the L, it's tough. Nobody's happy, but we also know that we have a lot to play for. It's just week 2 going into week 3. We understand that we have to get it together. Definitely us as an offense. We have to put that on our shoulders and go make it happen. But we have all the pieces. A lot of credit to our defense for keeping us in that game the whole time. And just as teammates, you have to help them out.
All right, Chris, I know DJ Chark is happy to be back out there on the field, but I'm sure he's definitely not happy with his personal performance or the team performance as a whole. Hopefully he continues to get healthier and maybe he adds something more to this offense. But again, the confidence for a lot of Panthers fans just isn't there, at least with the offense. But I would tell you where the confidence really does lie right now. It's with the Panthers defense, because this Panthers defense kept them in it. Now, I know they wore down late because they just played a lot of snaps and they gave up that late touchdown, unfortunately. But, man, You only gave up 20 points. And I think I said it in our Panthers playbook that dropped on Thursday. I said first to 20 wins, right? Did I not say that?
You did.
I said
You
first
did.
to 20 wins.
You did.
Just saying, I pointed it out. But this defense, even though they lost Shaq Thompson early, Grugier Hill stepped in, was great, and got into the backfield and got a couple key sacks. Frankie Luvu, stud. Absolute stud. That dude,
he's the MVP
everything.
of the defense.
Right now he is.
He's the MVP
right now
of the defense.
Right now he absolutely is. Now, something that you pointed out, Chris, something that you saw, Brian Burns. I know he had the offseason ankle procedure. You think you saw him on the sideline icing the ankle. We actually didn't see him on the field late in the game. Any update on Brian Burns and what his status is right now? Because I didn't hear Frank Reich talk about it after the game. He talked about Shaq Thompson, but question is, all right, that's your best edge rusher. What's up with Brian Burns? Do you know anything?
We haven't learned anything as of now.
Okay.
He was available in the locker room as I was about to go out and do my 11 o'clock live hit for WRL. So I did not get a chance to go speak to him, but there were a couple times he was on the sideline. He had ice on his ankle, took off his shoe, put some ice on. When the Panthers were back up on defense, he'd just go back out there. But I am kind of concerned with that. And I'm also concerned with how he's being used. I know as the outside linebacker, now that it's technically a position change, right, for Brian Burns under this scheme, he's going to be in coverage sometimes. But there are a few times where I felt like this is a good time to use this 3rd and long to have Brian Burns and Frankie Luvu just go after Derek Carr. Yeah. And Brian Burns was out in coverage. And there was a few times where I think it was like one of the times where I can't remember the exact quarter, maybe the second quarter, where the Saints were in I think it's when they scored their first touchdown. When the Saints were in the red zone, right before they scored that touchdown, they had to get a first down. And it was a short yardage, obvious run situation. And you don't have Jeremy Chinn in there. And you saw Von Bell and Xavier Woods get kind of ran over by the player that came up from the practice squad this week, number 34, Jones. Can't remember his first name. His last name is Jones, and he had a pretty good game himself for the Saints. It was very interesting to watch that, because it was like, what are some of these decisions being made right now? If you're going to have those short yardage, obvious run situations where you need somebody in the box, to me, Jeremy Chinn fits that mold, right? And I don't have a lot of things to talk about the defense as far as putting them down or having criticisms for them. But one of the criticisms I do have is I thought Jeremy Chinn was supposed to be like your gadget guy that you can use in between. It feels like Jeremy Chinn has been snuffed out of this defense. Yeah. Right? Like, he had a really good batted down ball. He's been when he's in there, he's making plays, but it doesn't feel like he's being put in positions to make a lot of the plays that we thought that he was going to be able to make, like he was early on in the season with the Carolina Panthers. And it's not like he's not that guy who could do that. So it makes me wonder what's going on with that and what is the real plan for Jeremy Chinn. Yeah, that's another great question. I texted you during the game. I tweeted it out. Our friend Tim Donnelly from The Drive on 99.9 The Fan tweeted it out as well and tagged me in it, because he and I were watching the first half together at Carolina Ale House in downtown Raleigh. It's like, why is Chinn not out there more often? Like, what is the reason for this? Because we saw him had that batted pass down where he jumped up like a shot blocker. He impacts the game.
He does. He also had a tackle for a loss, and he also made a couple other tackles at or near the line of scrimmage as well. So it's these guys, he's up there, he's making plays, and we know what he's capable of doing. And it's like, why is he standing on the sideline on this key 3rd down? Like, you'd see him standing there or nearby Ejiro Evero. So again, this is a big time question of, why is he not on the field? Or again, why are you taking your best edge rusher and dropping him into coverage? It's like, it's an obvious passing situation. I want Brian Burns doing what he does best, and that's get to the quarterback. Like Brian Burns has never been a drop back and cover type guy, never really in his career. So now we're going to ask him to do that, like in live game action? I don't know.
And so one of those question marks, you saw the injury to Shaq Thompson. First off, horrible injury. It looked violent on screen, so we don't know the prognosis right now, but Frank Reich did say he would miss a significant time. Now the injuries are mounting up. J.C. Horn out for a significant time. not Caden Mays, Brady Christensen out for the year. And now Shaq Thompson going to be out for a significant time. And so now the guy that we spoke to exclusively right here on Panthers Playbook, Deion Jones, who they waived and then brought back on the practice squad. Wonder if they're going to end up bringing him up and elevating him because now you're going to need some linebackers there. Grugier Hill, great job, filling in. But what if he gets hurt? What if Frankie Luvu gets hurt? Then you're going to need to have somebody in there. So you kind of wonder what's going to be the plan going forward. If they're going to try to sign another linebacker that's a free agent right now. But I'm pretty much expecting maybe Deion Jones to get elevated this week.
Yeah, I don't know who else would step in, but yeah, it makes perfect sense. He was there with you during all training camp. My guess he gets elevated would not surprise me based on the injury and the fact that Shaq Thompson got carted off the field. Wouldn't surprise me if he ends up on IR. If it's short term, would not surprise me because it looked like a pretty nasty injury, unfortunately, to Shaq Thompson. And good job for the defense rallying around that as well, and the team rallying around that as well, because it was a bend but don't break for that defense for much of the game. If you were telling me that the Carolina Panthers defense was going to give up 20 points or less, most people would say you take that, right? But once again, this offense was a struggle, Chris. Real quick, last question for you. What were the vibes like in the stadium? You're there at Bank of America. What were the vibes like from the fans, from, just looking at the body language on the sidelines? I just want to know your thoughts from actually being present there at the game.
Pre-game, it felt like, all right, maybe there's something for us to cheer for, right? Because everybody knew that the elephant in the room from last week was the Panthers turned the ball over and the Falcons scored off of all of those turnovers 3 times.
Yeah.
So the idea is if we don't turn the ball over, maybe we can move the ball, because it felt like they could sort of move the ball last week and control the clock. And so it felt hopeful pregame. People started filing in. So, like, I know early on it kind of looked empty, but the lower bowl ended up filling out. Top of the bowl, top bowl kind of was a little scattered, but I think they announced 72,000. And so, pretty good. AEW all-in numbers, you know what I'm saying? But had to throw that in there.
That's all.
Yeah, but no, it was pretty good. But then, like, towards the halftime, and fans started getting a little impatient and things didn't look good. Then you start hearing some boos coming out at part of the game. There's boos for Bryce Young, boos for the Panthers coaching staff, and so now I'm hoping that Panthers fans aren't, here we go again, because that's what it feels like. Here we go again, right? And I just hope that that's not the case for the Panthers fans here.
I think because the Panthers felt like Panthers fans were promised more, right? We were promised, like, hey, this is the turn from what we just had to deal with for 2+ seasons. This was the turn in a different direction. And we're like, wait, this ain't better.
No.
This right now, it ain't better. Now I know it's just 2 games, but right now, it ain't what we expected. We weren't expecting this, to be the Chiefs of 2022. That's not what people were expecting. But people were expecting more. And
improvement.
Right now, exactly. Improvement.
That's it.
But we're not seeing it. Simply put, we're just not seeing it. All right, Chris, I know you got to get back from Charlotte to Raleigh, so drive safe. Make sure you stay tuned in here. Again, subscribe here on Panthers Playbook on YouTube. Also, hit the links in the description. We are going to have a link to our podcast, so you can take us with you on your favorite podcast platform. So you can take us on the road with you when you're driving to work, whatever it may be. But leave your comments, smash that subscribe button as well. And again, we want your thoughts on tonight's 20-17 loss to the New Orleans Saints. Chris, get back safe. We're going to have another episode on Thursday. Getting ready for week 3.
Seahawks up next. Woo.
All the way out west. We'll see you then.